Welcome back to Mondello, and you're watching the Fiat Unos on their warm-up laps before the Alpha Systems 12-lap race. And this is really quite an extraordinary phenomenon in Irish motorsport, this class which was created this year, and now already we've had qualifying races and now the big final over 12 laps. They are all exactly the same, all the little Fiats, 1300cc, about maybe £7,000, £6,000 to put on the grid, and they have produced some superb racing this year. We're going to see, when they come round to the grid, some very well known names on the front row. Stevie Griffin, who returned to racing this year after a 15-year absence, is in pole position, and he used to be, of course, kings and minis and midgets and the mod sports days. Alongside him, that name that keeps cropping up this year, Michael Cullen. You can just see him there, car number 11 this time, the DC exhaust car, who has already been crowned the Dunlop Fiat Uno Cup champion this year. And then on the second row, it'll be Hugh Greenan, David Maguire. There are two relatively new names. Michael Barrable, a man who's returned from rallying to compete, 2 warm-up laps for the Fiat Unos. Liam Rabbit, a man who's transferred from another motor racing strategy. And then Ed O'Connor. So that is the front row of the grids, but Brian, this is really quite a phenomenon, the success of this class.
Absolutely. Like, for somebody to decide last November we're going to try and put a new class together, and then for the first race to actually have somebody qualify in April is absolutely superb. And all these little cars fairly even. There's been a number of winners. Steve Griffin won the first race. Michael Cullen ran away with it at the start, but I think basically the idea that behind his winning was that he had the car prepared long before the rest of the competitors. He'd had a lot of testing done. He just got his act together. It took the two or three races for everybody then to really come to it. And you mentioned a man there, Liam Rabbit, who used to be in GTs years ago. He's actually now the lap record holder, and that lap record, I would say, will be broken today, because in qualifying they were at least a half a second. 12.38 is the lap record, and he was in the 11s this morning for pole position, Steve Griffin, 11.8 to be precise. Michael Cullen again in the 11s. The oil flag there being held on the front of the grid, possibly to tell the drivers that there's been some oil spilled. They're coming up now to line up, and on pole position will be, veteran might be the word, but an older Fiat driver, Stevie Griffin. As Alan said, much experience in the minis years ago, in the days he actually drove in Dunboyne, had a super race there many years ago, and there he is. Was quite chubby in February, March this year, and decided to lose 2 stone because he thought he'd be too heavy for the Uno, Alan.
Well, it's obviously worked, because there he is at pole position in the Dagonite car. Alongside him, then Michael Cullen. There's the man that has been doing all the winning this year, and he's in, of course, the DC exhaust car. On the second row of the grid, they are the first two. On the second row of the grid, Hugh Greenan in the Dublin Oil sponsored car, and indeed all the sponsors that have come into this class are a tremendous credit to the drivers who get actual start money depending on the turnout for their cars. We're looking back, Eugene Healy, we saw there briefly, number 24, and then right at the very back we've got David Hammond, and that's a surprise because he's normally a front runner there in the purple bumpered car, very distinctive looking machine.
And off the grid there's lots of athletes. Mark Cuff just coming in there. Now unfortunately he he did a very quick time in practice. This will be a flag start. The light's obviously gone haywire or something wrong, but how that will work is when the national flag is held aloft, that is the equivalent of the red light, and when they go on the down of the flag, so no jumping the grid, lads. Now you will see it's a full 24 car grid. I was mentioning Mark Cuff of Mark Mott was there. He has been bumped down the grid because he was found underweight. A selection of the cars taken to the weighbridge this morning, hands in the air. That is the red equivalent of the red light, and on the down, it's a down go, a lot of wheel spin. A great start from Steve Griffin from the inside of the front row, Cullen on the outside. Everybody else getting away, and look at Griffin. He's decided he's got the start. He'll move out a little bit, and in the background, Hugh Grennan and David Maguire side by side. There's another little side on this as well, that all of a sudden car builders, the motorsport end in Ireland, Joe Murray has built Michael Cullen's car, and Martin Plant has built Hugh Grennan's car and David Maguire's car. Steve Griffin built his own, so a lot of work out there for the garages, but at the moment it is Griffin from Cullen bouncing the way through, from Hugh Grennan, from David Maguire, from Barrable and Liam Rabbit. Number 49 there, which is Warren McAllister, just moving up as well.
So down they come for the first time back into the main arena to the crowds here this afternoon at the Leinster Trophy. Made race very efficiently run, I must say, by the Leinster Motor Club. And there's Stephen Griffin just holding off the Michael Cullen just in behind him. And there they are, just lifting the inside wheel, front wheel drive, of course, this. And then David Maguire in third place. And he's a man that's made quite a name for himself. He was very competitive indeed at Phoenix Park, getting a victory. Number 24 just going through frame there was Eugene Heary, who's had lots of experience in single-seaters and has moved to saloon cars and is enjoying every minute of it.
22 there was Michael Barrable in his own home-built car. He's a new Fiat dealer out in Swords. And all these, look, just to stream, I never knew there was this many Unos in Ireland, but seemingly the Fiat company are delighted with side by side in the background there. A good dice there between Hugh Grennan and Dave Maguire. They are side by side, both these cars built by Martin Plant. Both of them have had superb results with the cars, and both of them relatively new to motorsport. Dave Maguire, a little bit of karting in the background, but no motor racing as such. But look at them just stream through. And that is Liam Rabbit, the present lap record holder. We'll be watching to see if there's anybody bump that from him. His best time at 12.38, but as I said, in qualifying, a lot of these cars underneath the 12. So 11.8 is the time we know they can do in qualifying. They are...
oil flag we saw, Brian, at the beginning of the race, that could be very detrimental to good lap times if there is a little bit of oil out in the circuit. So Grennan going through picture there. There's Heary again, and there's the nice court car number 10 that was belonging to Michael Leonard. Stephen Fisk also moving up, and they stream through, and all these little cars absolutely flat out down the straight. Meanwhile, up front still Steve Griffin, Michael Cullen in second place. They're pulling out a little bit of a gap before David Maguire leads the rest of them.
And the light green car mixing it in there is actually Stephen Fisk, who started from 16th place on the grid because of problems in practice, and he's beginning to move his way up. He's into 8th position at the moment. That's the light green car. At the moment, everybody's settling down. That's Michael Leonard getting through there, and 2 cars back. Fisk already from 16th on the grid. There he is, and someone spinning just in front of him. Number 10 there, the Nace Court car of Michael Leonard, senior. His son was out in the Formula Ford race and made a nonsense of it yesterday. But a good battle. You see in the background, Fisk held up there by, I think it's Ed O'Connor in the red car, but Fisk will want to get up into the battle. It's nice to finish in the top 6. Number 36 there, it's still Maguire, still holding off the attentions of Hugh Grennan.
David Maguire has had an excellent weekend at Phoenix Park, as we mentioned. There's Fisk, number 17. Fisk. He's a man to watch out for, definitely. He's carving his way through the field. We should also look out, of course, for David Hammond, who's just in the middle of that bunch there in the purple. There he is in the Listerine car, just going through picture now. And we saw Mark Model's car there also coming up through the field.
And Griffin just at the moment under a little bit of pressure from Michael Cullen. We've seen Michael perform before. We know what he can do going up to that hill. He gets someone on the inside, but just look at this. It is superb with the dicing. Griffin will not be intimidated. Back wheel just cocked up there. He catches the curve. That will slow him a little bit. Beautiful black paintwork on the Dadignite car of Steve Griffin. Now, we thought there was a little bit of damage on Steve Griffin's car there, and you'll see just exactly what it was. Down the inside, Griffin left the door open, and in came Michael Cullen and just tapped that door. But well held, Steve, and off they go, and he's still holding that. But you'll see the damage on the driver's door. You can see it there, well punted in. And that is what Fiat Uno racing is all about.
So David Maguire has managed to close that gap between first and second as a result of that. There will be not too much love lost between these two at the moment as a result of that. So Cullen, a bit chastened, I would imagine, by that manoeuvre. Remember, he's already won the championship. There's Maguire. He looks to be now holding up Hugh Grennan a little bit as they stream through Lodge. Steve Griffin, not a bit perturbed by that fairly major incident, keeps on in the lead as the rest stream through Lodge and in hot pursuit. So there's Maguire, there's Grennan, and then in behind him, just didn't get that number, probably Liam Rabbit.
Yes, it is Liam Rabbit. These lads should have capitalised on that little incident between Griffin and Cullen. They should have been on their toes because it did slow the two of them down, but they got away, and this is a battle in fairness. Maguire under pressure at the moment, having a look at the inside, and he does. Hugh Grennan just gets the nose snapped off him by the DuPont car. and Rabbit in the background waiting to pounce if one of these two make the slightest mistake. They're heading up the hill. They're all streaming through. Hammond, Michael Leonard, and in the background, Fisk beginning to make inroads on this high-speed train.
And there, number 24, Eugene Heary. Behind him, just didn't see the number there, but Eugene Heary has been shadowed. Also, I think it's Michael Barrable, that one. And then we have the Nacecourt car, and there's Fisk. And there McIntyre, who was very much to the fore also at Phoenix Park.
There's our race leaders again. Steve Griffin just stamping his authority a little bit on this race. Cullen stepping back a little bit after that incident, but will just settle back down. Maybe it woke Steve up a bit. Maybe he was getting a bit complacent in the car there. I doubt it very much. When you look in your mirror and you see Michael Cullen, you've got to stay awake all the time. Not quite as quick through there as Steve Griffin, but they're heading for the S's, and these two pulling away slightly from the third place man. McGuire still under pressure from Hugh Grennan. No, Grennan has dropped back, locking the front wheel. That was a mistake. Let's let Grennan catch up on him again. So they're really at it. That's the third place man and the fourth place man, Hugh Grennan. Slightly spread out now, and in the background you'll see a battle again. The Stephen Fisk, the danger man, beginning to make roads, and that is 22 there, is Michael Barrable making a nice manoeuvre just up the inside, moving up yet another place. He's got that inside line as they come down for the next corner.
And he's just behind Eugene Heary now, and there's Fisk going from the outside beside Michael Leonard. So Grennan, we're looking at Heary, then Barrable in fact didn't make it past Rabbit that time, but and Fisk is now closing in on Michael Leonard.
The race beginning to settle down, all the tires getting nice and hot, and people begin to take their chances. They sat back and relax maybe for a lap or two, but it's getting hot and heavy back down the field. That is our third place man, fourth place man, fifth place man. It's really close indeed. And there's Fisk. There he is. He's pulled up, remember, from 16th place on the grid, and is having a look at the back of Michael Leonard's car. That's our leader as they come down to the S's. That back wheel in the air, way up in the air, Michael Cullen's car, really soft. It's sitting up there, having to back off a little bit and let it drop. And the third and fourth place man really spread out a little. Every time they go through these corners, one wheel is off the ground. It saves the tyre wear, I suppose, Alan.
Absolutely. Michael Cullen there in second place. Of course, he is also going for the Dunlop Sexton Championship, which is works out amongst all the classes. Fisk on the inside of Michael Leonard there, but it didn't come off. But he's very threatening now as he comes down the straight. But as I say, Cullen hoping for maximum points in the class, which would keep him in contention for the Dunlop Sexton Championship. And if he got that, that would be 4 championships in a year. That must be surely almost a record in Ireland. So there they are. Steve Griffin in the Dagonite car, number 14, just coming down towards you with that nasty dent on the side, but very much in control. Whams it down through the box, up that steep gradient, much more so that it would look on the camera there. And there we have Michael Cullen just in behind him in second place, watching this car the whole way, keeping the pressure on. Third place, behind a little bit, Dave McGuire, now out on his own.
Out on his own, and Lee McGuire, in case you thought you were seeing it, there's Fisk trying around the outside of Michael Leonard as they go through. The next one is the right-handed. This could be door-handle stuff. He won't back off, neither will back off. Two very experienced drivers, and Fisk just nips through. Michael Leonard having a look at the inside as they come up the hill, but it's Barrable still shadowing Liam Rabbit there. That's a good battle there, and actually the other two, Michael Leonard and Stephen Fisk, beginning to close on this battle as well.
McGuire in the background there. And there you see Fisk just going through picture, number 17. There's McIntyre. And there's the race leader. And now they have completed 8 laps of this 12-lap race. They're on their 9th lap. And all the time, Michael Leonard keeping the pressure on Steve Griffin. And these two have really battled it out all season. Leonard being the more successful, but Griffin has had victories at Mondello already this year.
Went in a little late there on the brakes, Steve Griffin, and gave Michael Cullen an advantage. He just got it slightly wrong, and Cullen now has pulled back a car length on him. Just you can see that wheel popping in the air, and you can actually see when they were coming out of Bridgestone that the back wheel just was turning very slowly because it was still in midair. But that mistake by Griffin going in there on the brakes late has let Michael Cullen really come in. They're coming up to a back marker, and this could cause them problems.
Gilbert McFarland it is.
Cullen on the inside again.
head grab goes Griffin, no, but for the second time in this race, Griffin holds it. And I think he was a bit put off there by Gilbert McFarland, but for the second time he got the little Fiat Uno back from an extraordinary angle, and this is getting fraught.
Yes, Cullen on the outside again, but Steve Griffin, he's been attacked from all sides, but his mistake at Bridgestone the last time let Cullen really get close, and in a situation like that where you come on a back marker, that is the danger for the leader. He's got to make a decision which way to go, but Cullen was watching for the gap, and up the inside of the hill he comes, which was leaving the door open. As he turns in, Steve turns across and leaving plenty of room, but Cullen now just letting it go out wide, catches the back of the car, backs off, lets Steve straighten the car, and they're still back racing, and Steve has pulled the car length back again.
And you can see the front of Michael Cullen's car is looking a bit deranged now. That front bumper section looks as if it's about to drop off. I don't think it'll affect it too much, as long as it's not rubbing on the wheel, the left hand, the driver's side wheel. It's definitely hanging down. It shouldn't slow the car too much, but this is far from over. And when they come down this time, there will be just 2 laps to go.
It's the whole front section there hanging down, with no smoke from the tire. That's always the danger if you do that, but that nonsense between the two of them again has let people in the background begin to close up, and close up they are, and that's still David Maguire in 3rd place, but Steve Griffin at the moment beginning to stamp his authority here. He's pulled a couple of car lengths. Whether that little nudge has affected the steering of Michael Cullen's car. There's the 3rd place man, and you'll see that Cullen is dropping back slowly. Hugh Grennan in 4th place in the Dublin Oil car, beginning to now make inroads on David Maguire. And then we have Barrable. That's
Eugene Heary, number 24 there, in the Squeeze-sponsored car. The man who graduated to Fiat Unos. I'm sure the Fiat Uno Association would like me to say that, from Formula V and Formula Ford, but it looks very much like Steve Griffin's victory, and we're going to see possibly a strange sight. Are we going to see Michael Cullen beaten here this afternoon? It's looking very like it. He's dropping now back into the clutches of David Maguire.
Yes, steering not too well. It seems to understeer a lot. It's just going out. You can see he's all over the place, whether he has damage in his steering geometry in the front from those 2 little nudges, but the 2 in the background can smell 2nd place, and they're really beginning to get the dander up. But Griffin at the moment, looking in his mirror, he'd be delighted that he's not going to be under this pressure on the last lap, but the battle will really be now for 2nd place between Michael Cullen, David Maguire and Hugh Grennan. There's Cullen getting through there. There is Maguire, and there's Hugh Grennan.
And this is the man that's going to win it. It's Steve Griffin in the Dagenham car. It's not his first victory this year. He's also had his major problems this year when he rode off a shell in this Fiat Uno racing. But here he comes, Steve Griffin, and I wonder how many cups, a few of them a bit dusty after a number of years sitting on his sideboard, but a new shiny one waiting for him here today. So Steve Griffin, the many-time champion in both MGs and indeed in Minis, now learning to master the Fiat Uno racing, and here he comes for the last corner down the hill. He's going to take victory. 2nd place, possibly Cullen, possibly Maguire. We'll have to wait and see.
Yes, Cullen still understeering badly out of there, and they've closed up, but unfortunately, fortunately for Cullen, the flag is there. Griffin wins. Cullen is 2nd, Maguire 3rd, Hugh Grennan 4th, and then a good battle of 5th, 6th, and look, Fisk already up through into 6th position. A superb drive there, got by Barrable on the last lap.